The biggest unsung hero in wrestling right now is Sheamus, right? Now listen, this has nothing to do with me. I'm not a great person. Nobody should like me. But as far back as 2019 on my stupid shows, I was saying we do not appreciate Sheamus enough. And one day he will retire because that's the way the world works. And only then will we go, man, we should have enjoyed Sheamus more. Now, thankfully, Sheamus changed up his style and became a New Japan competitor. He's just going to kick your ass and do fighting spirit. And because of that, and because I guess he wasn't ever in a shove down your throat storyline, people actually took a step back and they did go, oh my gosh, this Sheamus guy is amazing, which he is. And the cool thing about him, I think he said this on the Chris Van Vliet show, shout out to Chris, who's awesome. He was all like, he's not saying that you have to work his match, but he's going to lay it in, he's going to be strong, and he wants you to bring it back as well. So almost he can work with the younger generation, just teach them a different style. Doesn't mean they have to keep doing that going forward, doesn't mean they have to like that approach, but you work with Sheamus, you know what you're going to get, it's always fun, it's always exciting, the crowd gets into it. Again, we just saw the good old-fashioned Donnybrook at Clash in Paris, that was fantastic with Rusev. So yeah, I think Sheamus has been consistent for years. I think Sheamus has always secretly been awesome, but there's been all this nonsense that people have talked about, throughout his time in WWE. Especially all those rumors, I think he's best friends with Triple H. All right, maybe what do I care? Let's just see if we enjoy what we're seeing on the television. And of course, not everything has been good, like in 2015, when he stopped Roman Reigns, cashed in his Money in the Bank, right? And that wasn't great because you could just tell it was once again WWE just desperately trying to get the Roman Reigns project over. And I think by that stage we knew it wasn't going to work, and Sheamus was just the heel, the scapegoat, I suppose. But if you look at his overall career, he's always been awesome. He's always been excellent, always flown the Irish flag, which is cool, because if you're a wrestler in Ireland, you're like, oh my gosh, maybe I can do it as well. But yeah, hugely underrated, hugely unsung, hugely unloved, and even though it's way better now in 2025 than it was, even after he does retire, I think we'll actually look at his body of work and go, that dude was awesome. That dude was great. And I like the fact that he won the WWE title on his first night in, or essentially his first night in. Why the flub not, man? We've got to try these things sometimes and see how they go down and see how they work. So yes, huge fan of Sheamus, think he's great. I mean, I am a wrestler too. Be terrified if I ever had to wrestle him, because of course, he would kick my ass. But maybe that's half the fun, right? He's not going to hurt you because he's a professional. You know what? I'd absolutely love it. I'm going to lay the marker down. One day, Sheamus, I won't beat you. I mean, you'll beat me. You'll beat me within an inch of my life. But I'll come at you with my shiny bald head and maybe I can blind you that way.
Unsung. I really, really struggle with this. Everybody's so sung now. If you get over in WWE for 5 minutes, they'll merchandise you half to death. They'll do your presentation in such a way where you get so over and immediately hated by half the audience. Triple H will claim credit, just to claim credit for something for your amazing success and whatever. In AEW, it's the same but different. If you get even like a modicum of success, either from the indies or within AEW, you'll be in Tony Khan's next 8-man, $100 million tag team match the next week, and then your moves will be gifted into oblivion on X. It's just really difficult to stay unsung in the first place, I think now. So I've kind of scrabbled around the ball Noah communities. I've gone to the bottom pages of Cage Match. I've looked upon the indies to find my guy, and I've landed on The Miz.
Yeah, indie legend.
The thing about The Miz is I think he's as suited to 2025 as he ever was 2010 when he was the WWE champion. And I say that because I think TV wrestling is currently at the moment on its best day only rolling a 4. And The Miz has been that wrestler his entire career. There is something about the stability of The Miz that as a Fed fan just makes me feel comforted. And at the moment, I would consider him unsung because the stuff he's doing for Carmelo Hayes in Mellow Don't Miz, and of course they are us him, is actually quite enjoyable. And there isn't much on SmackDown that's actually quite enjoyable, consistently so. Carmelo Hayes is a figure that I think was always going to struggle on the main roster coming out of NXT because he was positioned as like a next Shawn Michaels in terms of his wrestling ability, and he wasn't really that. He was as much a sports entertainer as he was ever going to be a pro wrestler. And I think finding an odd couple tag team with The Miz was a real turning point for him. I do miss when he had his Andre the Giant chain that he won, having won the Battle Royal that The Miz gifted him. But they'll eventually split, or they'll eventually sort of maybe win the tag belts before splitting and have the little feud or whatever. And why? It's because of Miz. He's just always bloody there, doing his best for everybody, having his bang average matches, cutting his bang average promos, but doing it with a smile on his face. Like he was in a Secret Service segment the other week on SmackDown as we record this, and I was just like, you've just made that better, pal. Like, he's just nice, a solid bit of dry toast. You just,
Everybody loves dry toast.
I love dry stuff, mate. When I've had a hard day, I just want to go home and have a nice crisp butty, and that's The Miz in terms of wrestling. He's unfancied, unseasoned, but I just think everything's too seasoned now. Like I'm bored of like sort of like these crazy matches on AEW and like just the overindulgence in what for a while was making WWE awesome and is no longer doing so. And like just he remains as he has done for decades now. There's still point in my turning world. Good on you, Miz. Keep at it.
It's the Butcher, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the Butcher. I always go for my favourites, but also like he's good. And why is he not on TV? He's not had a match in AEW since January. What's going on there? That was against Gabe Kidd. Before that, obviously the Blade got injured, which when you're in a tag team, that's never great. When your partner is long-term absence with a very serious issue. Get well soon. Hope he's doing okay. But Butcher, I thought, found a really good groove as like a mid-card kind of mean heel dude that the babyfaces faced, like a gatekeeper type figure. You'd face the Butcher, could you pass the test to the Butcher, and then if you won, you'd move up. And actually, I thought last summer he had a really fun match with Darby Allin in particular. Yeah. And he just kind of built himself into this like really solid mechanic in a lot of ways, where you'd have this really good functional match. He's a believable ass-kicking dude, because I mean, look at the guy, huge, tattooed, mean guy, sweetheart in real life by all accounts. And then now in big 2025, AEW just hasn't used him in 8 months, and he's done a few indie dates here and there, and I think that's a real shame, because you need a hierarchy on your wrestling rosters. You can't, not everyone you feature on TV has to be the person who's going out there having half an hour main events. If you have a half hour roster full of half hour main eventers and nothing else, you end up with a big old soup where nobody stands out from each other, there's no distinction, nothing means everything because everything's the blooming same. You need people in roles like the Butcher was playing in order to prop up the rest of the show and all of this stuff as well. On the same level, you need like good jobbers at the same time. People like John Cruz when he did the Samoa Joe match. You need people like this on your roster. And on top of that, like, look, the Butcher and the Blade were just a really unheralded, unsung tag team in general, I thought personally. Really believable couple of ass kickers. Insanely fun promos when they just started shouting about stuff like it's the 80s. Like they're hawking animal in Crockett or something. Crumbs. You crumbs. Was it reach your dirty hand into your pocket, pull out a quarter, dial 1-800, see ya. It's great stuff. Oh. Great stuff. They had really fun, particularly in hardcore matches with the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks come in the kitchen and the Butcher's like cutting up some meat because of course he is. He's the Butcher. Hold on, let me wash my hands before we wrestle. Very polite. The Natural Nightmares, the bunkhouse match, sensational. Great fun. Awesome fun. The FTR match, I believe it was FTR's first match in AEW. Awesome. Tremendous. Again, very similar role to what the Butcher was doing singles. They had the Bunny as well as part of it, making it a whole trio thing. They were kind of like the mid-elevatory tag team who were believable ass kickers, so beating them meant something. And they lost a lot, but they weren't like beating like a drum, so they had like no credibility left. I mean, you just need to take a look at them and think, I do not want to fight these men. So for me, it's the Butcher, because why is he not on TV? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Shouts to him. He's he's back riffing Atomic Rule. That came out 2 days ago. You should listen to that if you have ears, and I assume you do. Sorry, Louis. What's the Louis Van Gogh? Is that the guy? The guy who used to manage Man United. Anyway, it's the Butcher. Man United suck. Screw Man United. Up the Buffalo Bills.
Numerous names popped in my head for this one. A lot of people doing some great work in wrestling, Triple H, people like that, that really don't get enough credit.
They can, probably.
But, I'm a professional wrestling journalist, and I've analysed what's been going on, and I think you have to give all the credit in the world to Ava in WWE. She hasn't got a surname, she's Rock's daughter, general manager of NXT, if you're unaware. Because, look, who has transformed the best wrestling show of the week? It's Ava. She is creating sensational output every single week. And look, a lot of people are very grumpy in the WhatCulture office about how wrestling's crap in 2025, except for the fact that year on year NXT keeps growing, keeps getting better, and just keeps producing talent. Stephanie Vaquer, you're welcome. There you go.
Built from scratch.
Built from the ground up in NXT, moulded by Ava. She brought her in, and she said, I can see a star in you, and look where we are now. Look, NXT is my favourite show, and all the credit has to go to the general manager of that show. Who else is going to be in charge of that? Who puts the matches on? Who puts the teams together? Who puts the storylines together? It's Ava, and that's why she deserves all the credit in the world. And I've got faith in her counteracting this bloody invasion from Santino Marella and TNA coming after the big show, aren't they? Ava deserves all the credit in the world. Congratulations on a phenomenal year.
You see, I was actually leaning towards Nigel McGuinness for this one, though I think that Nigel maybe does get a fair amount of praise these days. One of the best commentators in the game. Brilliant at getting a story across, brilliant at giving the extra details as to why someone is doing something, and also still being able to put on a pretty great match himself. So for me, I am going to go with Angelo Dawkins. Yes, the Street Profits are a great tag team, one of the best in the game today, and so many people rightly praise Montez Ford and rightly, point out that Montez has so much potential as a singles act. But don't be sleeping on Big Dorks, man. Montez Ford might have the flashier moves, the more highlight reel moments, I guess you could say, for the most part anyway, and has charisma out of the wazoo. But Angelo Dawkins is a phenomenal worker, has plenty of his own brand of charisma as well. Dorks is so often the foundation of the Street Profits in-ring work, the base, dare I say it, the workhorse of the team. And that's not to take away from Montez Ford, but Dorks does a lot of the dirty stuff, the stuff that doesn't look flashy necessarily, but that perfectly sets up those spots that do look flashy. And Angelo Dawkins has a gas tank on him, man. This is someone who's in the region of, 6'5", 260 pounds. But Dawkins can go. And if you need an example, and this is a great video as well, how much of a beast that Angelo Dawkins is, pop on over to the Up Up Down Down YouTube channel, after you watch this video, of course, and dig out something called the Street Profits and BFAB Go for Greatness Ring Fit Superstar Challenge. It's this cardio video game, strength video game, workout video game, I guess. And Montez Ford totally smashes it, gets 131 reps on this pec workout. And then Dawkins just completely destroys that, getting up to 401, I think it is. Such a new record, and it's just insane to watch. So yes, if the Street Profits do eventually split at some point, I'm sure Montez Ford has huge things in his future, but don't be sleeping on Angelo Dawkins. Big Dorks has plenty of untapped potential himself as a single star, should that split ever happen.
For me, it's still the Young Bucks, man. For me, it's still the Young Bucks. I think we're in a period now, right, where there's no nostalgia for being the elite. The only people who really love being the elite to this day and go back and watch it are, the ultra dedicated elite stans. I consider Kenny Omega my favourite wrestler of all time, and the Young Bucks my favourite tag team of all time. Being the elite's not necessarily for me. I like black comedy, I like cruelty sometimes.
With a K.
Yeah, and I think the perception of being the elite all these years later is, God, it was a bit dorky and very snarky. So I think because we are in that period now, the period of was it ever any good, the Young Bucks have sort of dropped off the conversation of just how instrumental they were in making pro wrestling this incredible thing again. Maybe not so much now, but it was the show that people watched. And the important distinction is that it was so accessible being on YouTube. You could obviously watch and torrent and trade tapes and all the rest of it, like Ring of Honor and New Japan on World, but it was just such an easy destination point to have all of these storylines coalesce, and they embarrassed WWE and their billions of dollars and their writing staff, and ultimately that is the catalyst for everything that changed thereafter. Yes, Vince McMahon couldn't compete creatively with AEW, but when Triple H took it on, he was like, oh no, I want to do better stories than this. That vision, that approach would not exist without being the elite, but it is dorky, it is lame. People have forgotten really what the Young Bucks are about. And in 2025, to bring this up to date and to make it a bit more relevant, I think, the Young Bucks had a couple of years where they felt genuinely checked out. I still recall with a shudder the Sports Illustrated piece that heralded their re-signing with AEW, and the word schedule just came up so often that I'm thinking, you guys might have lost your passion for this. They had some, an attempt to do something new with the EVP stuff in 2024. A lot of it scanned as lame. They just eventually started to feud with their good friend Christopher Daniels in their own quarter hours. How it's working with your pals again, changing the world, enlighten me. I don't get it. But in 2025, they've been genuinely funny. They've been genuinely creatively invested. They've had matches that it's unfair, or even if you don't like them stylistically or think they don't sell, if you try and be as objective as possible and listen to those buildings, it's incredible. What they can conduct is absolutely incredible. And as well, one of the other, criticisms of the many leveled against the Bucks is how they don't look like they're in shape. They look lean and defined in 2025. I think they've had an absolutely exceptional year, but because they are the poster boys of the culture war, 50% of people cannot be rational and just say, these guys changed everything, whether we want to admit it or not, and they are in 2025. The year after, the first year, they were thought a little bit, they finished, because there were some TV matches that weren't exactly great. They've since come out and said, we were deliberately working a bit more slowly and methodical, and I'm thinking, it's fine. After all the years you've done, look what you were doing in PWG in 2012. It's a miracle you're wrestling to this standard today. And they've gone back, as they always do, and say, F you. No, they would say, flip or something lame like that. Frick, yeah. Right? But they still say frick you. They say frick you. Look at what we are still capable of, and it's absolutely incredible. Look who they've elevated. Like that match with Jet Speed just completely put them on the map. That match against Brodido ahead of the world title win, the world tag team title win, is considered by many to be one of the best TV matches of the year. Like, they are still peerless at making other teams look like the best tag teams in the world, and that's because they are the best tag team of all time.
So when it comes to unsung heroes in wrestling, I'm going to go down a slightly different avenue. I think, I'm not too sure what other people have mentioned in this video so far, but instead of talking about a wrestler or like any other part of the wrestling world, I'm going to talk about a commentator. Yeah, an unsung wrestling commentating hero. I'm going to talk about Wade Barrett, and depending on when you watch this, it may have been relatively recent in the news cycle. He was mentioned for obviously his little tiff that he had with Nikki Bella recently about like comments that he said in the pre-show and all that kind of stuff that he said in character, but they rubbed her up the wrong way, and then they had a conversation about it and they sorted it out behind like the scenes, and then just like told the public, yep, we're done now, we've sorted it out, we're grown-ups, we're human beings, we sorted it out, we're pals now, we're moving forward. And that for me is just another element of why I love Wade Barrett, and I think he's great because he seems like a top bloke behind the scenes. He loves his job, he's passionate about his job, maybe goes a little too far with his job like you've seen there at that moment in time, but the way he handled it afterwards and seemed to just like knock it on the head very quickly and just like speak to his colleague and just straighten things out in a respectful and smart way, because I think he also came into a defense of Nikki Bella straight away in his tweet where he mentioned that they'd made up, and like he just seems like a top bloke, and I like that. I like that in any human. Not enough top people, nice, generally good people in wrestling, in my opinion. So that's like one part of why I like Wade Barrett. I think he's an unsung hero of wrestling. The other part is he's bloody good at his job. He's really good at his job. Commentating as an art form for me, I think it's lost some of its sparkle over the last couple of years. I think a lot of commentators have just become soulless advertising spouters, and I get that is a big part of the gig. You got promote what's coming next, like in the next couple of weeks, and the big pay-per-view that's coming, and we've got this new sponsor, and here's a new betting app, and whatever. I know there's a lot of that going on, but in terms of the actual commentary itself, calling the action, which is the key part of the job, a lot of it blends into one for me. It just sounds very personality isn't something that bleeds through the headset like it used to, like JR or even Jerry Lawler or people like that. It just doesn't seem to be as prevalent. It doesn't seem to be something where you watch a program, you watch a match, and this iconic and unmistakable voice accompanies it as a nice little side dish. All these great moments, these iconic moments in wrestling history, they're accompanied by a JR, Austin 316, whatever it is. That's not a good example, just saying Austin 316, but you know what I mean. It's Stone Cold. That's what I was looking for. Something like that. You just hear JR's voice. And for me, Wade Barrett, he's kind of carved out his own little thing for that, in modern day, the tsunami thing that he does with Bronson Reed, for example, little things like that. He understands that you can make yourself synonymous with what's going on in the ring and become a character in your own right without taking anything away. You're enhancing the action. You're adding something to the action. He brings personality. Every single time that he's sat in the commentary booth, he brings, like, obviously, as a heel commentator, he's there, and he definitely has, like, that opinion of, like, a bad guy, but it's never at the detriment of what's going on. It's never distracting from what is going on. Like, you don't feel like he's the star of the show and he's trying to get his stuff in. He's trying to add to whatever the wrestlers are doing in between the ropes, and again, that is the job of a commentator. So I think he's great at that, and I think he doesn't get enough respect for that, and he's not talked about and loved as much as maybe some of the other commentators out there in the world right now, like your Taz's, your Excaliburs, your Michael Coles, those kind of people, Pat McAfee, these kind of folks. I think he is reliable. He's always there. He fills in when he needs to, and he just, you know what you're going to get with Wade Barrett, and that's good old-fashioned, brilliant voice stuff. That's my review of Wade Barrett, but I do think he's an unsung hero of wrestling, and he deserves some love, so I'm going to give him some love right now. Blah.